Over the last few weeks, we have taken a look at a lot of prospects that could potentially fit the Cavs at the moment. And honestly, I've neglected one that deserves his time in the limelight. Well guys, that ends today. Today we focus on the one, the only, Ousmane Dieng of the NZ Breakers. The French point forward will probably continue to move up draft boards as the draft draws closer. And there is undoubtedly much to like with Dieng's game, but before we get into that, let's talk about some of his intangibles. Dieng's length gives offenses legitimate pause for concern, and it's clear as day that this young man could have a very high ceiling on that end of the floor. One of my favorite aspects of his defensive chops is his willingness to take on the defensive challenge of stopping ball handlers out on the perimeter. He doesn't appear afraid of getting embarrassed when doing so either, as he can more than hold his own. He is also capable of switching on to point guards, and that isn't a skill that most 6'10" guys should have. It's honestly incredible. And his recovery skills are next level, mostly because of this. If you beat him, you still have to worry about him rejecting your shot from behind. I feel like I've continuously said about prospects from this year's crop. This seems to be a class with a lot of defensive potential. Now his length doesn't just help on the less glamorous end, it also aids him in regards to finishing through contact and over defenders. And if you attempt to attack him on a closeout, be aware that he can cover large amounts of ground at astounding rates and drive right past you, and there's often nothing you can do to stop him. His floater is damn near unblockable because of his release point. I mean, look at that. How the hell do you even seriously contest a shot like that? Alrighty, let's focus on another area of his game that scouts and analysts alike are fawning over, and that's his playmaking capabilities. Guys who are 6'10" or higher should not be able to handle the ball like a guard, yet he does, and does so with ease. His creativity is often on display in the open floor and in transition. There is definitely a lot to like here, as he can pass the ball while on the move and hits open cutters quite often. I can easily imagine Dieng hitting Isaac Okoro or Lamar Stevens for a backdoor cut for an easy basket. And guess what, Cavs fans? Dieng can operate the pick and roll as an initiator, and damn it if he doesn't throw some of the prettiest passes out to the corners for open threes that I've seen from someone in this class. And remember how much we saw Darius Garland probe the heart of the defense inside and then kick it out to an open man in the corner? Well, Dieng can do that too. He just sees the floor so well and appears to process shit so fast. I mean, it's awesome. He is patient and poised enough to wait on plays to develop, while also not slowing down the flow of the offense. It's damn near like a perfect balancing act. Delving further into his pick and roll skills should have all fans excited about what he could potentially do with Evan Mobley and Jared Allen at his disposal as rim rollers. He's able to throw passes to rollers with some of the oddest angles you'll see due to his length. Take these hook shots for instance. Not everybody can do that, especially at his size. Remember that floater we talked about earlier? Well, Dieng is really good at using it out of the pick and roll and can knock it down to his left too. Alrighty, now let's take a look at what most people are probably wanting to know, and that is whether or not he can score and how he can do it. So right off the bat, let me just say this. I believe Dieng is perfectly capable of developing into a catch and shoot threat, and I'll take it a step further and say this. I think he will if a team is willing to let him have the opportunities. I like his form and follow through. From day one, you can probably expect for him to look most comfortable in the corners, which isn't a bad thing necessarily. The Cavaliers should be able to scheme up some plays with this in mind. Definitely could see some drive and kick stuff from Colin Sexton there. At the very least, you can play him without fear of him not being effective without being the ball handler consistently, as he should be able to spot up and provide an offensive spark without the ball in his hands. There is some pull-up potential in there somewhere too, as it wasn't out of character to see him take his defender off the bounce and knock down threes in their faces, especially against bigs when he feels he has a mismatch. Just watch his step backs. Okay, now when we use the word potential so frequently with a prospect, that obviously means that they have areas in which they need to improve, and with Ousmane Dieng, that is no different. So what exactly does he need to work on? Well, let's start with his lack of physicality for one. And one thing is for certain, Dieng will likely need to add weight in order to reach his potential at the next level. If a defender has strength and can get vertical with him, he can get stymied rather easily. This is a cause for concern in my opinion because he could struggle out of the gate to score in the interior over bigs. You also want to see guys his length be a bit more physical instead of relying so heavily upon finesse moves like the floater. You gotta go at people with your size, bro. Use that 7-foot wingspan to your advantage. In other words, attack the damn rim. You're also not going to see him be able to take advantage of his size on mismatches because he doesn't appear to have the requisite strength to overpower people. Next up is his perimeter shooting, specifically his streakiness on catch and shoot licks. His 27% looks bad on the surface, but that doesn't mean that this is not a fixable issue. He needs to continue getting more reps in order to improve, but I'm not sure the Cavs will want to afford him the opportunity to play through slumps after doing so with the Gordo. I suppose inconsistent would probably be the best way to describe him in this regard. He'll need to improve this on the fly if he wants to be an everyday player. And last but certainly not least, and maybe the biggest issue of them all right now, is how unpolished he can look when pulling up. I mean, we're talking about a guy who only shot 39% from the field this year and was even worse the year prior. He has all the tools to be a pretty good pull-up scorer, but isn't anywhere near a finished product in this area. All in all, the flashes are there. That much is true. And honestly, what keeps him moving up draft boards is that potential, as he strikes many people as a player with too high of a potential to pass on. And while I don't think he makes it out of the top 12, I do believe that he would make sense for the Cavs if he did slip a bit. There's just so much to like about his game, and he could slot right into the second unit and add playmaking and defense from the jump. But the real kicker would be if he were able to develop and add value as a floor spacer. I'll leave you guys with that.